You have found Authentic Business Adventures, the business program that brings you the struggles, stories, and triumphant successes of business owners across the land. We are coming to you from the Sun Prairie Community Radio Studios, underwritten by Bank of Sun Prairie. My name is James Kateman, business coach at Draw In Customers Business Coaching, and author of the Bold Business Book, available on Amazon. Today, we are welcoming / preparing to learn from Mark Alexander of Actuate Improvement. Mark, how you doing?
Good. Good afternoon.
How is life treating you today?
Very well. Very well.
So why don't you tell us listeners and me, since I'm here, what is Actuate Improvement?
Actuate Improvement is a full service contract remodeler.
Nice. Okay, so you're building houses and putting on decks and stuff like that?
Doing additions, kitchens, bathrooms, doing decks, doing a lot of exterior stuff at the moment.
Okay.
And got a lot of new garage builds and things like that.
Nice. So helping people make their home a little bit more homey.
More useful for their families.
Nice. How long have you been doing that?
I have owned Actuate Improvement since 2016, the beginning of.
Okay,
and,
so a couple of years, all right.
Been involved in the industry since 99.
That's a while. Okay, so you saw a couple bumps and dips.
Yep. Yes.
All right, nice. Do you have employees?
I do have employees. We have, I believe, 9 employees at this point.
Holy cow! All right, so that's a decent sized construction company from my perspective. Most of the people I deal with, or talk to, I should say, are either just one man shows or 2-man because they have a brother or something like that.
Right.
So 9, that's healthy. So dealing with employees is a thing.
Dealing with employees is a thing.
All right.
We've got all the avenues, whether it's design, the layout, the sales divisions, and production staff.
Okay, so you're doing the architecture and all that kind of stuff.
We don't have a full architectural firm, but we do a lot of drafting and drawings to help people visualize it. We've got 3D programming and as well as cabinets design, so we can go through that stuff.
Nice. So take me just from when you decided to start your business a couple of years ago, what made you decide to get into the construction industry?
Well, what made me decide, I'm very passionate about the construction remodeling. I like seeing the full project through. Being involved with several different aspects of it, from just carrying 2x4s on the floor for apartments and when I was building to full design and service with the previous companies I've worked with. I really liked all the aspects, and I just thought at this point in time in my life to be able to provide a home for other people that have similar passions and be able to create a business out of it.
Sure. So was the idea initially to build it to something pretty big?
You know, the idea was really initially, I'm not sure what I wanted to become with it.
You're not the first one to say that, so that's okay.
The beginning of it was, we're going to do a contracting service and work with subs and bringing in subcontracting help.
Sure.
But the challenge faced being able to schedule and timing with who's involved. So it kind of grew from there. Knowing the aspects we need, having a little more control of the process is important with our industry because we deal with like 6 to 7 different trades.
Okay, sure.
So
talking plumbing, electricians, painters, all that. Sure.
So bringing in as much as we can control, like the full service of the carpentry installation, flooring, tile work, cabinet installation, those types of things will help the time process speed up as much as possible and have a little more control on it.
Sure. Nobody ever calls you up and they're like, hey, I want this addition done. You just take your time.
Yeah, no one does that.
Okay.
No one does that. Usually once you walk in the door and get things going, a couple days in, they're like, when are you going to be done?
Sure.
But, that's contracting itself. People, we're working inside the homes.
Sure.
So managing our time and being able to manage their living in that quarters while we're working on it. It's always a challenge, but it's a challenge we always kind of look forward to going to.
Right. So you're remodeling their kitchen. They have to do dishes in the bathtub, and they probably want to step that up a little bit.
Yeah, we cater a little bit, try to make a easier setup and system for them.
Okay. So I imagine you started the business with knowing that you didn't really want to be an employee somewhere.
Correct.
So it was a reason that, I know the experience that I've had with some contractors was not what I would call generally positive. Mainly because there's a huge customer service aspect that seems to be missing. It doesn't exist. The idea, I know there's construction companies that do well, but it just seems like a lot of guys start a business knowing they can swing a hammer but actually talking to people seems to be a challenge for them.
The communication aspect of business is in the contracting world is running shy.
Sure.
And I can't say that everything is perfect with how we run things, but every day is a constant communication. I bring that to my guys' attention day in, day out. The day-to-day struggles that we work with when we're working on customers' homes is we've got to be assured, or the customer needs to be assured that at the end of the day or the end of every week that they are being communicated to, and any concerns, any questions that are being addressed. And that's the biggest thing. Instead of just walking out a door and not asking them if they have any questions or concerns.
Right.
I'm trying to push that to my guys to always check in with the customer at the end of the day, whether it's me as a sales end of things or whether it's me as the carpenter in the field.
Sure.
Everybody part of our team, even if it's my admin at the front desk. I always want people to check in to make sure things are being handled. You can never over communicate.
Oh, that's perfect. I love that. I can think of a time we had a installation company come into our house to insulate the attic or whatever, and they left and I didn't know it. And so I was working from home, whatever, and I was like, oh, it seems kind of quiet. And I look and there's this little trail of insulation down their stairs from where the attic door is, whatever. And I looked in the driveway and I guess, well, there's no trucks. And so I guess I have to clean up their mess. And I'm assuming they're gone. It was just little ninjas. They came, they did their job. And they knew I was there because I was like, hey, how's it going? If you need anything, I'll be in here. If you need water or soda or something, just grab whatever you need. So I was like, was I supposed to just hang out and cheer them on the whole time? Or what were they hoping? Or
well, maybe they left a bag for you to clean up their mess.
Yeah, nothing. No, luckily insulation, the vacuum cleaner took care of it fine.
That's where that lapse of communication.
It was crazy. Yeah, because I'm like, I don't even know that they didn't leave somebody up there.
One of the other big struggles that as a contractor we face is when we work with subcontractors, we have our own set levels, and trying to pass that along to another company that we're bringing to work with us. We try to find reputable, good companies that are going to do these things for us and with us, just at the same level as we would.
Right.
However, not everybody has that mindset at the end of the day. So sometimes we do face those things where things aren't getting taken care of.
Sure.
But again, it's a responsibility of ours to follow up on the day-to-day things, especially when we have somebody out there. Because if a concern becomes an issue, then we can address it within a 24-hour period.
Sure.
Instead of waiting 2 to 3 weeks and finding out information we didn't want to find out.
Right.
Those
with
are,
an angry customer.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, and the compassion that we have, with Actuate Improvement, is we sit there with the customer on the beginning of it and tell them we are going to be compassionate of where they're living and how they want to go through the process, and that it's not going to be a necessarily always easy process. Because we are tearing apart where they live.
Right. There's that.
And, we want to make sure that at the end of the day, we have that same compassion level, that we care, because we do severely care.
Sure.
And it would be our own home and our own families going through it.
Right. So how do you keep track of that? Because I imagine if you got 9 guys, you got 9 guys doing certain things. There's probably a few projects going on at a time.
12.
Okay, 12. That's a lot. Okay, fair. You got that number. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So for them to, is it you always following up, or is it your guys following up, I imagine?
So that's why we have a production manager.
Okay.
We work with production manager. I have my admin that's kind of following up with our customers on a weekly basis.
Okay.
So we can kind of find out if there's anything coming up or going on, or questions they may have.
Okay.
As we are human, we are potentially going to be missing, a connection there, but really striving to constantly talk about the communication is where I think a lot of people do run short.
Okay.
They're not in their back page of things. They're not talking about the communication on a day to day.
Sure.
But Ryan is one of our production managers. He's working on the jobs. I do work with some of my customers on the larger spectrum of the bigger jobs.
Sure.
And then the communication between our sales guy. So we try to catch all with a few different avenues.
Sure.
So
is it software, or how do you keep track of the people?
It's a good question. We do have a premier software that actually helps manage our jobs, managing schedules.
Sure.
This is a great program that allows customers to have their own website, so they can see the schedule, they can see the weather, they can see the material selections that they've approved.
Sure.
And that's our job at the beginning of this, is to walk through this with them, make sure we can get them the information they need.
Okay.
So they can look at it and be comfortable with what's coming up,
Sure.
or have questions and be able to have that one point of contact that will go to everybody that's involved in that job.
Gotcha. Okay. So if at any given time they want to know where the job is at, or they have to make their selections, they can just go to that website,
Correct.
take care of whatever it is they need to take care of.
It does online payments. It does all that stuff for
Oh,
us.
nice. That's
Yes.
clever.
Yeah.
Clever. Is that something that you implemented recently?
It's been implemented. We've been working on it since 2016.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Since we opened it, starting the business, seeing the struggles that other companies have gone through, and
Right.
just trying to figure out what is it, a one-stop shop where we can find one source and
Sure.
we don't have to go through several programs.
Mm-hmm.
Google Calendar is a great calendar.
Right.
At the same time as we're not it's not set up for contracting. It's not set up.
Sure.
Standard calendars are not set up for that. So
Sure.
we definitely wanted to have something that made more sense.
Gotcha.
So implementing that right away was the best thing I ever did.
Okay. Nice. So that means that if you're doing some remodel or something, or a hefty remodel, you got to get plumber in there at a certain time, and counter guy or cabinet people, whatever, have to show up before or after other people. So this helps schedule all that?
Yeah, this helps schedule. We do recommend, and we would push our subcontractors to be involved in the same program.
Mm-hmm.
This is not something that they have to worry about paying for. It's
Sure.
something that we have in systems where we allow all the subs to work with us.
Oh, very cool.
Through that, and they get communicated and scheduling and through that as well.
Nice.
It's there's a lot of, we work with a couple independent contractors where they're on
Sure.
their own, so
Sure.
we kind of help with them being involved in the field. They don't always get that
Gotcha.
computer or iPhone.
Sure.
Believe it or not, there are still people with flip phones.
I do believe that, especially in that industry.
Yes.
I think
So-
we're lucky that they don't have corded rotary phones.
That's true. So we can print out forms. We can print out things for them so that they can take when they come to our showroom. Because
Gotcha.
we do have a showroom in Middleton.
Oh, nice. Why don't you tell us about that?
Yeah, we have a showroom in Middleton on 211.
Where am I? That's
We
all
have-
right.
We have a showroom in Middleton at 2115 Parview Drive.
Okay, so right in the industrial area?
Yeah,
there,
right in
kinda?
industrial, just over there by Frank's Distribution.
Okay, nice. And that has all kinds of stuff, I imagine, for people to see?
We have countertops, we've got cabinets, we've got tiles, styles, we've got knobs, pulls, quite a bit of information and selections for people to choose.
Nice.
We're growing that rapidly,
Right.
getting more and more selections, so we can kind of have
Okay.
a one-stop shop, so people aren't running everywhere trying to sift through the options.
Right, so this way they can see it, feel it,
Correct.
see how stuff works, and see if they like the different knobs and choices and all that.
Correct.
Very cool. I mean, is that tough to update? Because I imagine every year the knob people are coming out with new knobs, right?
You are right. There's thousands of different knobs and styles. Same thing with doors and cabinets.
Sure.
We work with specific cabinet manufacturers, and
Okay.
real big cabinet manufacturer is located right here in Wisconsin that
Oh, nice.
we're working with more and more every day. It is a Menominee Tribal Enterprise cabinetry. We're bringing it straight into the house, so it's all in bells and whistles and
Sure.
really, really custom detail. It's phenomenal what I went through the factory a week ago, seeing how they construct their boxes, seeing how they construct their drawers. And
Sure.
It is one of a kind.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's a fully sustainable process up there. So
Very cool.
which is extremely neat to see, seeing the trees come out of the forest. And they've invited us to have customers come up and pick the trees that they can make their cabinets with.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
They'll make floors, the whole millwork. We can get everything that you would need for
Sure.
the carpentry side of things.
Huh. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's really neat.
That's crazy. How many people roll through your showroom in a given week or month?
In a given week, we probably have close to 3 to 5 people come through.
Okay.
Whether it's the projects of going on,
Okay.
or potential new people stop in and see.
Sure.
As being in business since 2016, it's still a
Right.
real fresh business.
Sure.
But you can see that traffic really picking up, getting more and more
Right.
people into the showroom. It's important also for us to build our inventory for that,
Sure.
so people can see the options and be able to make the selection. So
I imagine it would help some of your employees as well, so that they could actually see stuff beyond what they're installing at that moment.
Yeah,
Right?
that's a correct assumption. Yeah, it's definitely good for them to see what's being put in, and any kind of new product that we get. We
Sure.
have the installers do that at the showroom prior to
Right.
putting it in the field.
Nice. So they get a feel for it. They get education, experience, so they're not
Yes.
learning necessarily on the job.
Correct.
That's very cool. Very cool. So tell me about employees, because that's always the fun times, right?
Oh, fun times.
Was it tough to find employees to start?
Yes,
Okay.
Very
Is
tough.
it tough to find employees now?
it is. It's tough to find employees. However, there are a lot of employees out there. You know,
Sure.
People are always looking for the next best thing, right? But you know,
Yeah.
as far
People like employees you're talking about. Are always
Employees,
looking
yeah.
that
Yes.
grass is marginally greener.
Oh, everybody thinks the grass is greener on the other side, and
Mhm.
until they get to the other side, they realize
Right. It was just the sun.
Yeah,
Now where I was is pretty green too.
yeah. You hear Yanni, I hear Laurel. That's just one of those debates.
Mm-hmm.
So the reality of it is, finding the worker and help. It's finding the ones that are in the trades that
Sure.
have that specific knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
We work with there are carpenters that have to have some experience and being able to do several different things as far as carpentry, not
Sure.
just framing or not just trim.
Okay.
We do a lot of tile installation within our business, so
Gotcha.
it's important to be able to see that on a full spectrum as far as remodeling. So
Sure.
it's a little unique, but at the same time is the knowledge that needs to be there.
Sure.
And then we've got actually two young carpenters working with us that are right out of the high school gate, and
Oh wow.
actually working with one that actually started prior to graduating high school, and
Okay.
the ambition's there, which is what we want to see.
That's awesome.
You know, we got a lot of possibilities for young people to learn,
Sure.
and it's just a matter of finding the ones that want to learn.
Sure. And that's a skill that they can just go wherever with, because realistically, people will never stop building stuff, right?
No, people won't ever stop building stuff, and that's the reason I'm in the niche of full service contracting remodel. Just because the reality is everybody's going to have to update their homes.
Sure.
And you're going to need repairs and fixes, and so whether it's the great peak of constant work and no one can keep up, which
Sure.
is kind of like
Kind of
right
now,
now,
right?
and to when things kind of slow down and the new construction kind of comes to a halt.
Sure.
People are still going to have to update, you know,
Right.
and keep things going. Otherwise,
Yep.
they lose the value. So,
Right.
But, back to that carpenter side of things, it's finding the people that want to be this in the long haul is the challenge,
Sure.
because it's somewhat brutal and physical.
Sure.
you
Definitely
know.
a physical job, right?
So you're capturing the younger crowd sometimes, and capturing the older crowd when we're working with some of the older gentlemen that work with us.
Sure.
They've got that invested interest of wanting to manage a project or wanting to manage a job, and
Oh, gotcha.
that's the site supervisor role, but still
Sure.
able to do some of the day-to-day carpentry things, and
Sure.
have the younger guys potentially help.
Sure. Gotcha. So is that something, I guess you're essentially training people, right?
Yeah.
So then do you find that people say thanks for the training and then just jump ship? heading
Oh, you
somewhere else?
always will. You
Okay.
always will. I kind of don't sweat that stuff.
Right. That's fair.
If I can teach somebody something, I can teach somebody something. I look at that as
Right.
chalk that on my book. Yeah, at least I was knowledgeable enough to teach somebody
Right.
something new. We're not always going to be the best fit for everybody,
Sure.
and it's just something we know and face, and we strive to do the best and work the best with the new employees. And
Sure.
thus far, we haven't had a turnover rate, so knock
That's
on
awesome.
wood.
Right. Right.
You know, we're growing, and there's always going to be those challenges that are faced in front of us. But you know, again, we come back to that communication,
Right.
and when those
Huge.
challenges come up, is let's sit down and talk.
Yep.
Because I'm human, you're human. You have emotion, I have emotion, and sometimes that's what clashes heads.
Definitely. Totally.
The emotion.
Yep.
And you think about it, reality of life is too short to let that get in the way of
Definitely.
what you both really want is
Yep.
to succeed and be better.
Yep.
So
That's fair.
it's the communication, and it's how you communicate. You know, too many business that I've seen out there potentially work with customers and work with their employees in a different manner, you know, and it's the puff their chests up, I'm the business owner
Sure.
mentality,
Yeah.
you know, and that doesn't necessarily work and trying
No,
to communicate.
It's not
you know?
1954 anymore.
No,
right?
it's not. It's not. Everybody wants to be treated the same and respected for their opinions.
Sure.
And I respect that. Maybe my opinion will be different this one.
Sure.
Maybe your opinion will be different the next one. It's just communicating that.
Right.
Really, it's communicating that. I'll be married 11 years this year in July, and that's how I got to 11 years. So now
Sure.
I got another 45, 55 years from here.
Sure.
And we'll just got to communicate through those relationships.
Right. You got it. I got a chapter in my book called Communication Leads to Vacation. Because I find a lot of people, man, when you mess up communication, that means you're looking for employees.
Yes.
Looking for clients, because that becomes more of a challenge. You're not getting the referrals that you need, and all that jazz. So, yeah, communication is a huge deal.
Huge. Number one thing in anything. Anything we do, we need to communicate.
So that leads us to sales, right? Perfect segue. Is it tough to sell home remodeling and new homes and stuff like that?
What is tough about selling home remodeling is the value.
Okay.
Tough to sell when people watch reality TV shows.
Sure. For $50, I got a new whatever, right?
Yeah, there's the price points that they pick up off of these.
Sure.
It's kind of, I call it brainwashed,
right.
And unfortunately that's what they see. So it's the same price. A lot of times they'll come to us thinking that, and when we bring them the price, we have a fainter.
Sure. That's awesome.
So
we bring smelling salts with us to every.
Well, we got oxygen tanks in the car just in case you lose your breath.
That's awesome.
So, but that is the challenge.
Sure.
Is the value in getting people to understand some of that.
Right.
Prices are definitely up these days. The economy's booming. Things are going well. So the materials are through the roof in our eyes, and we're all on the same page. It's, we're a small business. We're trying to make ends meet. We're trying to make some money for the future. We're trying to make money for our guys.
Yep.
And seeing the actual prices of materials climb and getting prices coming in, and we're like, wow, we think the same thing. So don't shoot the messenger. We're just here to help and try to get the best value for you when we're working on it.
Comes down to supply and demand, right? I was just talking with a builder today, and he went over to talk to a guy about a deck. And the person with the deck had this idea from TV that for $400, we'll build this deck. And the guy's like, that won't even cover half of my materials. Where'd you get this number?
Yeah.
So it's interesting, just perspective when you talk about value. And the same person, I imagine they go out on a date with their wife or girlfriend or whatever, and they'll spend that same $400 on a fancy date. And that's just an evening without any... You can't resell that evening.
Yeah.
So it's interesting, the perspective on the value.
It is.
But when you have these shows and stuff like that, where 2/3 of the stuff is probably donated by companies that are trying to get some marketing done or whatever.
Yeah, and usually they show prices of materials, and that's what they show. They don't show because of the sweat equity,
Right.
People are flipping homes and that stuff, and I did that for a few years with a friend of mine, and it's, seeing that out there, it helps people kind of visualize somewhat of what's going on, but the price points are way off.
Right. It only took them a half hour, right?
Yeah.
Why is it taking me 2 weeks?
Yeah, exactly. The other time frame, we joke about that a little bit. It's like in a half an hour, we should be done with this bathroom.
Yeah.
We started today.
Nice.
So
move that bus.
If there's a rain delay, it might be 45 minutes.
Sure. Okay. That's awesome.
So,
nice.
But the value is big there, and we just something we want to work through with customers and go through that whole getting them to understand where things lie, and we do an open book as best possible to show the a la carte of this is your materials, this is your labor. We try to break it down where we can for people.
So how do you find the people? Are you just cold calling every single house, or all the ugly houses, or how do you find the people that are interested in remodeling? Yeah,
it's a great question. As any great business or good business out there would say, is repeat and referral.
Okay.
Repeat and referral is most of our business. Being so new, we haven't had a whole lot of repeat, but we've had some.
Right.
But we've had a lot of referrals based off of one customer to another, and and at the end of the day, all I want customers to know is you will be taken care of. But we never just walk away from anything that comes up.
Sure.
You'll be taken care of properly, and that's the biggest thing that gets us referrals.
Gotcha.
Okay. And not every project is smooth sailing, and
I imagine a lot of them aren't, right?
It is challenging. It is definitely challenging, but at the end of the day, when we get through the rough time of something, then they know that we don't just leave things be.
Sure.
You know, I want people to know that we are there for them in the future if anything comes up on their existing job or anything in the future.
Sure.
So, but on the other side of things, we've got the marketing side, like social media.
Gotcha.
We do some social media. We get customers through social media.
Okay.
I'm doing some radio.
Okay.
As of right now.
Nice. That's wonderful.
So, Actuate Improvement. So, the biggest thing about it is right now we have a lot of just self-generated.
That's awesome.
Falling in our lap business.
So you have a sales team or?
I have a salesperson.
A person. Okay.
He's my sales team.
Gotcha. Okay. Get to work, Rodney.
Yep.
Or whatever his name is.
I'll have to think about that.
Okay. That's fair.
His name's Dan.
Dan. Okay. So Dan is out hitting the pavement trying to find.
Yeah.
Do you do the trade shows or home shows or?
I haven't done any trade shows. You know, being in business since 2016, I've been just kind of gearing up the business.
Okay.
Haven't put a lot of effort into the marketing.
Sure.
As most think that, you know, you need to bring in, and you do. You need to bring in customers. Thankfully, since I've been in this business since '99, I have a lot of past customers and relationships.
Okay, so they got your name and all that. Okay.
That know about us and know about myself. So
sure,
that's where some of the referrals are coming in from.
So you raise an interesting point now again. So I got this. There's some students that I work with that are in the process of putting together business plans.
Yes.
And some of them are putting together business plans for businesses that they have zero experience in. So I want you to talk to me about you trying to start the same business without any experience, knowing that you have this experience from 99 forward. Let's just say it's 2016. You're like, construction business sounds awesome. And you've been, let's say, at a restaurant or something like that your entire life before. How hard would it be to start a construction business from scratch? Or would it be impossible? You're looking at me like that's the stupidest question I've ever heard.
Yeah, so that's not, I won't say that's the stupidest question.
Second stupidest question.
Might be second. Just kind of the tone of my, I don't know. I mean, that would definitely be a challenge, not knowing kind of what to expect. Thinking about a business structure, like you just want to bring in customers and you don't really care about what's going to happen at that point.
Right.
But as soon as you bring in customers and you don't care about what's going to happen, because you just all you want is customers and prospects, then everything else would fall apart.
Sure.
You really need, you would need some type of guidance, some type of experience.
Sure.
In my opinion.
Because you hear about people like, hey, man, I got a truck, I got a hammer.
Yeah.
Let's start a construction company. We got this.
Right. Unless for some weird reason somebody said, hey, I know everything about a business and I want to start a business and I want you to own it and I'm going to give you all the money and I'm going to do all the work.
Sure.
That's the only aspect where that might work.
All right.
But even in that case, you usually get kicked to the side real quick. And,
sure.
But I would. That would be challenging. I don't even know where to start with that one.
Okay. So I imagine there's like vendor relationships that you have.
There's vendor relationships. There's even from where I got my help from the start out with my project manager. He came through one of my vendors, kind of knowing the niche and where we were at.
Sure.
There's a trust factor that you need from
Huge.
Anybody and everybody that's going to be involved from the beginning, because as challenging as it is to start a business, but you have a small business, and then when you bring in an employee, which, depending on what you're doing and where you want to go with that business, you bring an employee, people are going to need to trust you, and
huge.
You need to have that confidence that will allow people to see that they trust you and not just sell them.
Right. Well, it's fantastic that you mentioned confidence, because I see some of these students as well have zero confidence, and they haven't even come to the point of finishing their business plan to get started.
Yeah.
I said, if you don't have confidence in your business plan,
how are people going to have confidence
in you? You can't hire that, right?
Yeah. You can't.
This is kind of my business. I'm a little afraid to start it.
Yeah.
Get in there.
Confidence is huge.
Yeah.
Without confidence, you really can't move to that next level.
Right.
I mean, it's like asking somebody out on the first date. If you don't have confidence, that's never going to happen.
Sure. That's fair. That's awesome. So tell me, in dealing with customers, I imagine now you're booked out a little ways, right? Because we're I don't know, middle of spring, something like that. And in Wisconsin, you only get a few months to actually swing hammers.
Yeah.
Because it's at least outdoors anyways, right?
True.
So I imagine schedules fill up fast.
Yes.
How do you deal with customers when they call and they say, hey, I got a graduation party in a week. Can you remodel my kitchen? Like, how do you deal with that in regards to still saying, hey, we can help you, we just can't help you that soon?
Yeah, it's the communication aspect of things. You don't want to just be like, nope, can't do it, and hang up
Sure.
the phone. You really, I've had a lot of customers say they want it done by the end of summer, and then as we go through the process and talk about what's going to happen,
Sure.
they start grasping like it's not a 30-hour or 30-minute
Right.
or an hour or 2 hours or a week job.
Sure.
It's 6 weeks, 10 weeks, 12 weeks.
Right.
So at the end of the day, it's about communicating that.
Okay.
So,
Nice. So let's go back to you starting your business. Over the course of the past couple of years, you've learned some stuff. I imagine even since 99, when you're in the construction industry, you learned some stuff.
Yes.
What have been some of the biggest things that you've learned over the course of the past few years?
As far as
Just
the
business-wise, maybe
size,
stuff that you didn't anticipate?
employees.
Okay. That's awesome.
And not that I didn't anticipate employees. I just didn't
Sure.
anticipate me getting to this level where I have as many employees as I do and still want to grow.
Okay.
The drive, the passion, the confidence is there, even with the day-to-day stuff.
Sure.
The little struggles that you get, and not leaving sight of that. When you lose sight of your day-to-day goal,
Right.
that's when you kind of stop wanting to grow. But
Sure.
for us, it's not knowing, like, well, I know at this point now where I want to be with this business.
Right.
And we're almost capping out where I want to be with this business.
Oh, really?
On the location we're at.
Okay.
Dream and goal of mine is to open up a secondary branch.
Okay.
So that the travels and expenses don't have to be put on, and we can actually work out of that branch as a full separate kind
So
of.
like East-West Madison?
Correct.
Or going in, okay.
Yeah, I'd be going East-West Madison.
Gotcha. Okay.
Because we have a lot of projects in the east side of the suburbs.
I see you in Sun
Stoughton,
Prairie, just in my
McFarland, Sun
neighborhood.
Prairie, yeah.
Yep.
So we've got a lot of stuff going on in those areas, but we also have a lot of stuff going on, and people want work up in even Baraboo and
Sure.
Wanakee and out in Cross Plains. So those types of travels, and when we're traveling so much,
Right.
it's a lot of money spent. So if we can minimize that by having a secondary location and
Sure.
having a focused group here and a focused group over there,
Sure.
that's just one of my goals.
Gotcha.
So I
Okay.
think now I've got my eye on that prize and that goal. And at that point, I'll be able to provide jobs for about 24 people.
That's awesome. That's huge.
Yeah.
Very cool.
That's really why I'm doing this.
Okay. Nice. Awesome. Well done. So then that leads me to, if you were to give yourself advice in 2016, right before you started your business, knowing what you know now, what is the one piece of advice you would give yourself a couple of years ago?
Oh, man. So one piece of advice I'd probably tell myself is don't go home and cry.
Go home. Just don't go home and cry.
Yeah, no. The biggest piece of advice I'd give myself is always don't worry about like what's people are thinking.
Sure.
Take action into what people are saying.
Mm-hmm.
So, if anything comes up or people want to see something different, is you got to take action in those things. And
Sure.
instead of being closed-minded per se. At the beginning, it was trying to figure out, this is what I want to do and this is the way we're going to do it. But
Yeah.
it became a little more open-minded.
Okay.
Because, I don't know everything. And I'm
Sure.
not.
What?
Yeah, it's
Get
hard
them
to
out of
believe.
here. Get them out.
I didn't. I hope my wife doesn't listen to this. So, because the reality is, you try to come off like I know everything, right?
Sure.
But we know everybody doesn't know everything,
That's
and
indeed true.
True. Everybody doesn't know everything,
Right.
So it's a matter of knowing your faults, knowing your weaknesses, and at the beginning, it's like just be able to manage that and
Sure.
bring somebody into. That's why we've got the employees that we do, and that's kind of where we changed compared to what I was anticipating.
Sure.
But I don't want to fail, and we won't fail. So it's a matter of just doing the right steps.
Sure. So let's talk about the logistics of the business itself. This has always been something that's amazed me. When I think of like, what's the Brewers Stadium? I can't even think of the name.
Miller Park.
Miller Park. Okay. Somebody had to put together an estimate for, I guess, taxpayers to pay for the Miller Park, right?
Yeah.
And knowing like they had to break down every bolt and beam and all that kind of stuff, that had to be tough. So I think about a house. I wouldn't even know where to start in regards to figuring out quote. So
How much?
Yeah. So is it tough to find, or is there software, or like how do you figure that stuff out?
There are softwares.
Or is there a
A
gray
national
area?
average,
Okay.
and there's a gray area. It does become what your expenses are,
Sure.
and reality is materials are materials. So being able to get that connection and network of people that be able to give you the materials as need fit,
Sure.
and being able to price those materials. With our program, we do have some of that in the back pages where Dan can click on an arrow and a drop down menu and it says, this is what I need quantity
Sure.
of this. Being
gotcha.
able to
Okay.
provide himself with a good estimate based on the job.
Okay.
And or when we deal with subs, obviously it's not necessarily the best price is going to win that sub
Sure.
quote. It's the service that sub can provide.
Sure.
So, but price points are definitely hard, probably the hardest to come by or
Okay.
hardest to figure out. So
Sure.
I guess another answer to that, what would I, change or do differently, like when I was
Yeah.
started, or tell myself advice,
Mm-hmm.
is work on that product knowledge right
Uh-huh.
up front instead of just rolling into some of those without
Sure.
the unknowns.
Okay.
Yeah, we've made money on projects, we've lost money on projects.
I
It's just
imagine.
nature of the beast, and
Sure.
learning that avenue.
Sure.
It was either that or go to college and spend $100,000
Right. And then still
and
end
still
up,
do the same
right?
mistakes.
That's awesome. So tell me, you've been with your wife 11 years, you said.
Yeah, well, I've been with my wife for 14 years.
Okay, so that means that you started a business while you were already married.
Oh yeah.
And did you have kids at that time?
Yes.
Okay. So there came a time when you told your wife, like, hey, I'm quitting my job, starting a business.
Yeah.
How did that go?
Well,
Presumably well, but
yeah, it was great. After, so I have 3 girls.
Okay.
And the oldest now is going to be 6 in September, and 3, and then now 6 months or whatever's coming
sure.
up. So, but when the oldest was 2, I ventured into my flipping homes business.
Okay.
And it was excitement because of something new and changed.
Sure.
But scared because we had all these things to pay for. And
Right. Kids
you go
aren't
from
free.
kids aren't free. And you go from a great income to not knowing when an income would be there.
Sure. Sure.
So, manages work out, but, reality is you learn to cut back and
Sure.
mind your dollars and cents. And,
Sure.
And then at that point, things were good. With that business, the time with the economy and market, as the market got better, the flipping homes business,
Sure.
it
Probably
kinda
leveled out.
leveled out a little bit.
Sure.
So at that point, we kind of knew to back off of that train, and
Sure.
I jumped onto what I knew ultimately I would end up doing as far as a full service remodeling, because I
Sure.
did that with my flipping business
Sure.
and
Sure.
my partner. So things went pretty well, and then went to this other business, and after helping a couple other business with the sales side of things,
Sure.
and my wife did think I was a little crazy.
Okay. So she
'cause,
wasn't necessarily 100% on board, but
she wasn't 100%. So she works in a family business as well.
okay.
So she knows the day-to-day struggles and
So she's an
challenges.
employee or partner or whatever?
Yeah, she's an employee at this point with that business.
Okay. Was
so-
she the whole time?
Yeah, so far she has been.
Okay.
Yeah. So both of her parents still own a jewelry business.
Okay.
And they ended up.
Oh, I'm sorry. When you say family business, you mean her family, not necessarily this
Her
business.
family,
Gotcha.
yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, her family business.
Gotcha.
So she knows and understands it. So
Gotcha.
she is forgiving when it comes to the late hours and
Sure.
having to jump over and help and go communicate with a customer on a Saturday
Gotcha.
at 6:00, like I just recently did. But,
Sure, that's a thing.
She understands that, and she's okay with that.
Gotcha. Okay.
But again, that's a communication thing.
Sure. So when you first started saying, hey, I'm going to flip some houses and stuff like that, was there a little bit of a challenge there? Or was she like, cool, man, whatever?
Yeah, where are you going to get the money for flipping houses, right?
Okay. So
how
she
you
put
gonna
up some
buy houses?
devil's advocate questions
Yeah,
kind of thing.
yeah,
Okay.
there's definitely devil's advocate kind of questions. And it's good to have the devil
Sure.
sitting. I'm not saying my wife is the devil. So
Hey, what just happened?
the devil's advocate. But, learning to go through those things. And it's scary. But when you want to own a business, you do things that normally people would never do.
Totally. Yeah, yeah.
And sometimes there's no rhyme or reason. It's just like, whatever. I'll jump
Yeah.
and somebody's going to catch me or I'm going to fall flat on my face.
Sure.
And thankfully it's a figurative speech.
Right.
Because otherwise it would hurt.
Just roll when you land. It's
Yeah.
all good. Yeah.
So the biggest thing there is just being able to just go for it.
Sure.
And
Interesting. Okay.
with both businesses and even if I were to ever start another business, just like I start the second location, it's gonna be the same feeling and same thing over.
Sure.
It's gonna be starting a new business
Here we
basically
go.
on the east side.
Right.
So it's gonna have the same challenges, and we try to learn from the first ones,
Sure.
but it shortens up the recovery time.
I bet. Right. A little bit of experience and
Yeah.
education. That's all
Yeah.
right. So you mentioned entrepreneur, right? Start your own business, rolling with that. What is your favorite thing about starting your own businesses?
Just the thought of being able to help
Okay.
people
Okay.
and help employees and being able to help and bring my passion, like my communication straight to them.
Sure.
And being able to have that foundation with my employees. I mean,
Okay.
I've always wanted to be able to give back to people around me, people that support me, and the time I can do that is bringing some of those people in.
Sure.
At this point, that's where I'm at, is being able to give that employment and knowing that it's helping their families, and
Right.
it's not just stopping at them. And
Sure.
that's what I enjoy the most.
Okay. Would you ever consider going back to work for someone else?
No,
No. Okay. That's
Nope.
awesome.
that definitely wouldn't.
That is awesome. No one ever says yes to that. That's so
Yeah.
funny. It's not funny. It's just the real world. But I still
I
like
think
asking it just to.
Day to day, I'm like, go mow lawns for somebody. That would be great.
There's every once in a while when
I
you deal
love
with
mowing lawns.
Do you really?
I love it.
You can totally come to my yard
All right.
because I listen to so many people. You know, it's weird. There's a lot of entrepreneurs that say that say mowing lawn is relaxing.
It's so relaxing.
And I'm just like, that is the most boring thing in the world. Plus, I don't know how we can make a 500 horsepower car quiet, but a 25 horsepower lawnmower seems to be the loudest thing in the world.
Nice.
I just don't. I feel like the technology is there to make these quiet.
Well,
right?
they're quiet, and I put a headphone on, turn on 103.5,
Sure.
and go from there. And,
No, I get
and learn some
podcasts
stuff.
and I listen to them. It's still just so mundane. All I think about, even when I get the podcast on, is how
Yeah.
can I make this faster?
Yeah,
And I think about gearing on the lawnmower and like, why can't I do this at 20 miles an hour?
yeah.
I feel like there should be a way to just
Speed them up.
speed them up.
They do have faster ones out there.
And well, yeah, but like 6 miles an hour. I don't know if there's any 20.
I don't know.
So my
I
wife,
used to race go-karts, so I could actually just soup them up a little bit and get a faster speed out of
you
them.
know, if we put a lawnmower blade on a go-kart, that would be way more fun.
It'd be a lot more hurt people.
Well, I'm just worried about me and my lawn.
Okay.
I just mow as fast as I can. My wife is like,
I could do an acre in a half an hour, so.
an acre and a half hour. Okay, that's pretty, like
With-
a
with
clear
hou-
acre.
With a house and trees and everything else. in the
Really?
way, yeah.
Okay, well, you're faster than I am.
That's a zero turn.
All right,
Nice.
all right. Fair enough. Do you have a favorite customer story?
Do I
Couple
have
years
a
in business, there's bound to be one or seven.
There's customer stories. Favorite.
Or do you have a favorite customer?
I've got a lot of favorite customers.
Okay.
I mean,
You don't have to share a name or anything like that.
No,
but
yeah,
just-
no, I got a lot of favorite customers. The biggest thing, like I say, the communication in this industry is learning about people, learning what they want, being able to provide them a space or a place for their families to go. I mean,
Sure.
when it comes to a specific customer story, I don't have a specific customer story. Building a space that I know people will be able to enjoy, and that's
Sure.
my favorite thing about it is meeting with people and talking with people. And
All right.
as a business owner, I've handed off some of those torches to my new sales guy. But,
Sure.
that's one of the things I liked the most about business itself. Is
I bet you've had a time when a customer was not so happy that you had to navigate the communication thing.
you do, and then you're gonna have that. And
Right.
then I'd be lying to you if I told you I don't foresee anything.
You
in the
totally
future
would.
and
This
everything
is
else.
this is authentic business adventures.
Well,
right
this
now.
is right.
Not
So,
snowed business adventures.
No. So I just got a communication and just going to tell them if something is going wrong.
Sure.
And you see something that you're not happy with.
Mm-hmm.
It's one thing when you don't address it, but it's another thing when you address that in the same emotional pattern that they have, because it's really, I look at every house as if it were my house,
Sure.
and my family is there, and my kids or family was going through that mess if it was a mess, and
Sure.
it's an action, and if anything happens, you need to take that action and get out there and communicate,
Sure.
even if it is Saturday at 6:30.
Sure. So what happens when you find something like you got to tear down a wall or rip out a cabinet and you find mold or something like that? Or you just find something that you didn't necessarily know was there, but it's construction in a house. Houses have been around for a while and different people have been in there. So I imagine every once in a while you find stuff like, ew, this is a thing we have to address this thing.
Yeah.
Is that common or is that the exception to the rule?
It's common to find stuff.
Okay.
It is common when you're dealing with old houses.
Mm-hmm. And what do you consider old?
Anything before 1970s.
Gotcha. Okay.
There's potential water issues that have been hiding in walls.
Gotcha. Okay.
And even in the 70s, the flashing, even in new construction. I've worked on a new construction house where 5 years old, and it rotted out the joists of the entire whole back of the house. And because whoever sided it or whoever did the flashing details and the roofing details just did an accurate job, and man passed an inspection, but it doesn't mean that it's always
sure.
So you always need to know your builder and the reputation and whatnot.
All right.
But when it comes down to the remodeling side of things and
Sure.
working on older houses, a lot of damage comes from long-term,
Sure.
a leak in a faucet over the 70 years might create some issue in the subfloor. So,
Right.
Seeing mold, mildew, there's the A word that we don't like to talk about a lot.
Asbestos?
Asbestos.
Okay.
You said it.
It's okay. I'm cool.
Okay. I wouldn't want to cuss on the radio. So, the biggest thing is being able to address those
Okay.
in a timely manner too.
Mm-hmm.
With lead being a thing.
Sure. In the paint and
In the
stuff like that,
paint,
or
yeah.
pipes, I imagine. Okay.
Being able to control or manage that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, but you also need the knowledge, and the people that are out there doing the bidding and working with customers need the knowledge to be able to point those things out
Gotcha.
beforehand. As you see TV shows where, we didn't know that was a bearing wall.
Sure.
Yeah, you did.
Okay.
So,
Sure.
is this your first time picking up a hammer?
Sure.
Or designing anything? Bearing walls are bearing walls, and it's designed
Right.
to hold the second floor, and first floor is to hold the roof trusses
Sure.
or rafters.
The snow
So
on top.
the weight load. As somebody that's been building for a while, they need and they will know
Mm-hmm.
the bearing points, and they'll
Okay.
know which ones are bearing walls and which
Sure.
ones you can remove and how you can open up a wall. But in my opinion, almost every wall can be opened up.
Sure.
And it's just about how much is it going to be to do it and what kind of bearing points do we
Right.
have to point,
Right.
But that's the biggest thing is people have the assumption that a contractor may not know, or a contractor may go in there and just, I didn't know that was a bearing wall.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
But,
Okay. So like where the trusses had all that rot and stuff like that, was that mid-job that you discovered that, or was that why you were hired?
well, that we were hired because they were residing the
Okay.
job, and they were doing an addition. And when we opened it up, we were supposed to tie into this floor joist or rim boards, as we would call it.
Sure.
And exposed like fungus and all this stuff growing on this. And at that point, it's so much moisture has been in it, and
Right.
it's growing this algae and fungus, not necessarily a mold.
Sure.
So we had to remediate that. And
So then you'd have that conversation with the customer saying,
Yeah.
"Hey, funny story.
yeah,
Sorry
we
about
opened
the
this up.
$50,000
Yeah.
thing."
yeah,
Right. Through no fault of yours, but it's
Right.
it's a thing
right.
that they budgeted for whatever, and all of a sudden. So what do people do? Is that all of a sudden get a loan to fix this because you're in there, siding's halfway off or whatever?
Yep.
You can't be just button it up. We'll sell the house.
Yeah. Well, I've had that scenario
Okay.
where somebody just put it up for sale and wanted to sell a house.
Sure.
Um,
Somebody else's problem.
yeah. Well, and they had to disclose that they
Right.
had that issue.
Yep.
But reality is a lot of times you talk about it, you figure out what the material's going to cost, what the labor's going to cost, and you end up having to do a change order. The
Okay.
dreadful change orders
Sure.
that you talk about.
I imagine something like that's not just like a $2,000 thing. That's like, I don't know how much this would be, but I imagine tens of thousands, right?
Yeah, it all varies. You
Okay.
can spend a few $1,000s. You can spend $100, $200 on a change order. Or, we have customers that add on things, and you can spend
Sure.
$25,000 to $35,000 on it.
Well, I imagine once they get into something, they're like, oh,
let's do this.
Pretty, right?
Where's the starting and stopping point
Sure.
when remodeling?
Right.
This house is going to look like vintage over here
Sure.
and mid-century modern over here because the design's today. So.
Sure. Gotcha. In regards to your business, the past couple of years, if you could change one decision, can you think of one that you would change that you've made since you started your business? Presuming I have a magic wand and can make this change happen. I can't, but just in case.
I don't know that I would change anything.
That's awesome. That's very cool. No regrets.
Yeah, I don't have any regrets. I've brought in some fantastic people.
Mm-hmm.
The best thing I've ever feel like I did as far as originally is just not think that I could do it all.
Okay. Get the right people to do it.
Yeah.
Delegate as needed.
Yep.
Sure.
Getting a good bookkeeper and
Sure.
somebody to manage the money, work with a good CPA, working with good people and knowledgeable people around you.
That's awesome.
Being able to learn and pick people's brains too.
Mm-hmm. That's great that you mentioned having the team, right?
Yeah.
Because that's another thing, the business plan that I deal with the students. They're like, what do I put for this? There's a little portion in there for where they put their advisors.
Yes.
And it's like your banker, your CPA, your attorney. And they're like, who? Like, no.
We need that?
Yeah, you got to have people
Yeah.
that you can turn to because
You do.
some of you people don't even know how to cross a T necessarily. I mean,
Yeah.
beyond that, you need some help.
Yeah.
And the people loaning you money are going to want to know that you have access to that help.
Having that team is crucial.
Yeah.
We started our business with no money.
Right?
And there was no background, no money there, no foundation, and I
Sure.
was doing a lot of the work. My project manager started with me at the beginning,
Right.
and he kind of helped manage jobs, also do some work with me.
Right.
And for those you feel indebted to them
Right.
to help you build that up, and
Sure.
but it's having the team for sure.
Right? How long did it take you to start getting employees?
Too short. It was. It felt like it was. Probably like 6 weeks, but it was probably close to 6 months to start getting employees.
Gotcha.
After starting the business, and
So that'd be a challenge. You're ramping up, and then all of a sudden you
Yeah.
got to take the time to hire and
Yes.
interview and get them up to speed.
yeah, and figure out kind of how to work together and
Right.
figure out whose roles who. And
Mm-hmm.
2.5 years in business, we're still figuring some of those things out, and that's pretty normal.
Right. I'm 6.5 years in calls on call, and I'm still trying to figure stuff out.
Yeah, well, it's just normal business
Yeah.
practice, in my opinion.
Mhm.
If you're not constantly thinking and you like put your arms behind your head and you're just like, oh, this ain't nothing.
That's so funny. I'm reading Lee Iacocca's book,
yeah,
his autobiography, and he's sitting on the cover just like that. And I'm like, Chrysler just filed for like the third bankruptcy.
that's why he's like, yeah, look at it go.
I got this. So like, shouldn't you look a little bit more stressed out, or
Yeah.
just like one hand on your head,
Yeah.
just looking like,
When they say fake it till you make it, when people say fake it till you make it,
sure,
that's what they mean.
They're
They don't mean fake everything else.
sure,
But sometimes the imagery of
Right.
of what we're doing is a little more stressful on the inside. But don't want
Sure.
to eat you alive. But
right.
I'm
I'm not saying don't have happy days or anything, but I'm like, I don't know if I would consider calling you uber successful.
I like to kid around, and I'm typically smiling even when things aren't awesome.
Sure.
To that, but the reality is you gotta laugh and smile, otherwise it's,
No, and right. My wife sometimes asks me, she's like, how can you be okay with this? And I was like, in a year, will this even matter?
Yeah.
We're not even going to remember this happened, right?
Yeah.
An employee leaving or somebody making some stupid mistake that some customers wetting their pants over.
Yep.
It's like, in reality, in the big picture, this is less than dust.
This is less than dust for sure.
Yeah, so it's marginally not going to waste the energy on it kind
Yeah.
of thing. Or not over energy. And certainly not worry about it.
Right.
Just fix it and move on.
Fix it, move on.
Mm-hmm.
What's the problem? I tell my guys all the time, don't come to me with a problem, come to me with a solution.
There you go. Do you have a favorite business book? Do you read business books?
I read a couple of business books.
Okay.
I don't know if I have a specific favorite.
Okay. I guess it doesn't matter if you wouldn't recommend it. We won't talk about that. How do you know if your business is doing well?
You're getting repeat and referral business.
All right. So when that stops coming in,
and you're making money still.
all right. It's so funny that you talk about that, because this is so funny. I love talking about my class because I point them to this show.
Yeah.
So I'm like, just listen to the show, because some of them are like, I want to price my stuff at like 50 cents an hour because I want the whole world to use me and money's evil. And I'm like, no, money's not evil. Money's a great way to keep score, right?
Yeah.
And it is very, very, very tough to make the world a better place if you're broke.
Very, very, very true.
So it is way easier to help the world if you have money, right? And having money on whatever scale you want, go do your thing, right? In certain industries, you can make more than others, right?
Yep.
But I have to, I would say the majority of my students, I have to get them over this mentality of money being evil. I tell them to love money, just not in a creepy way, right? Some people end up, some people end up loving it, and then you take the world in a bad place, and we don't want to do that.
Yeah.
So, but if you get it in a good spot, money's a great way to keep score, to see if you're doing well or see if you did the right thing in regards to pricing your stuff and
Very true.
helping clients, getting referrals and stuff like that.
Very true.
So that's the thing. That leads me to our last question here. What piece of advice would you give to a person that was considering starting a business?
A piece of advice I would probably give.
Just sit them on your knee and say, well, Junior,
Good luck. Don't hesitate.
Don't hesitate. I love it.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's high-fiveable right there. Boom. Don't hesitate. Tell me why.
Well, because the moment you hesitate is the moment you put it down and you don't pick it back up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, failure is not the worst thing in the world. The worst thing is not to try.
Oh, I love that.
And when you hesitate, you, again, put that back down, and you don't typically pick those things back up. You
Sure.
find something different.
Right.
Well, if you didn't try that, how do you know that this different thing is any better?
Right.
So,
That's awesome.
That'd be it. And that's why I say it. You know, there's a lot of opportunities out there for whether you're old or whether you're young. There's a lot of opportunities, even on good times and bad times.
Mm-hmm.
And when we hesitate is because we're scared to do something because we're scared of the outcome, and so we hesitate.
Right.
And you hesitate, it ends up in a typically bad result.
Nice.
You know, you lose that traction.
Right. I love it. That's awesome. Your website? What's your website?
The website is actuatellc.com. That's ACTUATELLC.com.
Awesome. And then do you have a phone number?
Yeah, we have a phone number for Middleton's address at 608-203-9225.
608-203-9225.
That is correct.
Awesome. Rock and roll. Alrighty, Mark. I appreciate you coming by here. This has been awesome.
Thanks for having me.
This has been Authentic Business Adventures, the business program that brings you the struggles, stories, and triumphant successes of business owners across the land. Coming to you from the Sun Prairie Community Radio Studios, underwritten by Bank of Sun Prairie. My name is James Kademan, business coach at Draw In Customers Business Coaching and author of the Bold Business Book, available on Amazon. We'd like to thank you, our wonderful listeners, and our guest, Mark Alexander of Actuate Improvement. Mark, thanks for coming by.
Thank you again.
Sharing your life story here. Business-ish.
Just the beginning.
Find us airing on 103.5 Wednesdays at 6 p.m. and Sundays at 2 p.m., as well as at sunprairiemediacenter.com. We can also be found morning, noon, and night at the podcast link on drawincustomers.com. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next week. I want you to stay awesome, enjoy your business, and by all means, enjoy the process.